Yo, what is it? Wednesday? I'm losing track, man, with all these holidays.
That's right.
Happy
Yeah, it's
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
Lucky Lefty Podcast, January the 3rd, 2024. I have to get used to saying 2024 too.
They've been calling it the KB24 for Kobe year.
I can rock with that.
KB24.
I can rock with that. Salute the Beam, Lucky Lefty Podcast, and Nora Boys in the building, brought to you by Nora Whiskey. ONORAWhiskey.com, that premium American whiskey at NoraWhiskey.com. And if you drink, by all means, make sure you do so.
Responsibly.
You got to do it responsibly. Also, we reside CFB Nation, and we're presented by
Twisted
Tea.
That's
Yes,
right.
sir. Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
It's a new harmony in 2024. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, audio edibles each and every day. Lucky Lefty Podcast. You already know. We spin it
Spinning
different.
different.
I'm sitting here and left. You know how I am, man. I just like to throw alley-oops. Shout out to John Morant for catching Wembanyama last night. We love to see it. He called him.
But I appreciate Wemby. Wemby gonna contest.
Oh, yeah.
He gonna contest. He ain't, he looking to block things. He ain't playing.
It makes the game better. Like, you get me, I get you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he blocked a layup Ja had early in the first quarter. You
But
like
the
to
thing
see that
is,
competition.
Wembanyama can shoot, and I don't think Ja can block that shot. I don't think anybody can block that shot he got.
No.
He's 7'3". They got another Frenchman, Alexar.
Champagne or something like that?
Yeah, he finna be the next one. He's 7'2".
Yeah.
We got the Rudy Gobert athletes coming out now.
The Rudy
France.
Gobert athletes. I don't think they want. I know they're Frenchmen, but they don't want to be compared to Rudy Gobert. That chokehold changed his whole perception.
Change his whole perception for sure.
The Draymond chokehold changed his whole perception. We're going to get to the biggest questions for Notre Dame going into the offseason. The biggest questions for Notre Dame going into the offseason. You can still vote, YouTube, Lucky Lefty Podcast, for the Lefty Awards. That is Coach of the Year, Freshman of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Biggest Story of the Year. You can vote for all the categories. The fans wanted to vote, you have it. Voting ends at 11 a.m. on Friday, and we'll give the results on Friday's show.
That's right.
It's some pretty interesting votes, man. I can tell you the most shocking, the worst loss of the year voting is shocking me. Because right now I think Ohio State is running third. People are really upset about the Clemson and Louisville losses.
Yeah, the Louisville loss is just one of those inexcusable ones. Ohio State loss is more disheartening because we felt like we could have had it, and Clemson's just unacceptable. So Clemson might just be the biggest letdown.
Yeah,
because all the gas is out the tank at that point.
That's true. That's true. See, I'm inspired, man, watching Lil Left in the back, bro.
That's right.
It looked like he was getting ready to doze off a little bit.
Yeah, you know that car rides putting down.
And it's so yeah, my father used to drive me around the block to make me go to sleep, as my parents tell me, right? So car rides are amazing when it comes to like putting kids to sleep. But like, what's your favorite place to take a nap, dude? I promise you, I have the weirdest place to take a nap.
It's crazy. I fall asleep easier sitting down on the couch than I do laying down in the bed. Like or sitting anywhere. If I'm sitting anywhere and it's quiet and the seat comfy enough, I fall asleep faster sitting up than I do laying down falling asleep.
This is gonna drive you crazy, though, or you're gonna think I'm crazy. I fall asleep on the floor, dog.
On the floor.
But dude, my wife will tell you, man. I'm dangerous, bro. Because when I get sleepy, I have no control. Like I'm gone. Like I'm gone. I don't care. I could be at somebody else's house, wherever I'm at. When it hits me, it's a wrap.
The floor. How do you get to the floor though? You have to take a knee first, and then
Like literally, the workout room that I have is carpeted,
Oh yeah,
right?
sometimes that carpet real nice.
And the carpet in my daughter's room is like super plush,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
I would just go in there and I start by laying on my back on a pillow and I'm like looking at the big screen. And then all of a sudden I just turn over on my side. And next thing you know, I wake up an hour later, like, yo, that was a
That's
good
right.
nap. That was a good
That's
nap.
right.
That was a
I
good nap.
usually I usually it's always when you get the comfiness. And I only hit the floor when like my back's hurt. I think when
Mm.
your back hurt and you lay down on the floor, it's always the best move to go to for sure.
Yo, I ran into some former hockey players last night left. You talk about professional athletes that are in bad shape. Because football players always get mentioned. Man, these dudes were walking like seesaws. Like literally just, and it was funny, man. But yeah, LL Nation, let us know. What's your favorite place to take a nap during the day? Your favorite place to take a nap during the day. And go vote for the Lefty Awards. YouTube, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Let everybody know. The thumbs up, smash it for us. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. We spin it different. Yes, Ron Tuck, you are right about your boy SD2 Mics. I sleep like, man, I sleep very quietly, man. Like, they have to come check on me, like, yo, is this dude all right? Let's get to it. Lucky Lefty Podcast. All season question number one. Biggest question. What is the marriage of Riley Leonard and Mike Denbrock going to produce? That's the biggest question. And we say that because, look, there's a new system being installed, right? Mike Denbrock is going to come
That's right.
in, install his system. So that means the whole entire team is learning on the fly.
Yeah, everybody's rookies.
Yeah, in a sense. Is that, do you think that makes everyone feel like they're on an even playing field as far as competition?
Quarterback wise, yes. I think it's the reason why it's hard for a 1-year offense to be as successful as a 2-year. So yeah, in that aspect it's hard. But for everybody else, it really goes off of the pace of the quarterback. Quarterback comes in, like for instance, a Cam Newton, whatever offense he got coming in, guys are going to do well off of that because Cam did well in that offense. The same thing for guys like Jameis Winston. His first time starting, guys end up benefiting off of it because he was comfortable. Joe Burrow, you see the natural Joe Burrow progression. The first year it was all right. You know, he still had Jamar Chase, still had Justin Jefferson. But that next year when he got really comfortable in that offense, the quarterback, knowing his checks, knowing his go-tos, knowing his players well enough, that second year, you would have thought, you know, drastic differences, but really he just got more confidence. So it's really how fast can Riley get comfortable and how much
Mm-hmm.
support and chemistry does Denbrock have with him. Then I think, you know, Chris Mitchell, look, he's going to be open. That's just
Mm.
what it is. So it's just a matter of can Riley find him enough and trust it enough to give him the football because Denbrock is going to call a bunch of those plays for Chris Mitchell, in my opinion.
It is vitally important that Mike Denbrock surveys the scene, right? Don't you think the first thing Mike Denbrock is probably going to do is watch film? Before he installs, he's going to identify, let me identify who we're going to get the ball to. And of course, he wants to see it for himself once spring practice starts, right?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how long he'll watch tape because I mean, you don't have to. don't have to watch real long to know what we do and don't have. Plus, the style of offense that we ran last year, I don't think that Coach Denbrock's going to take too much from, just because of the focus of the team was through Aldrick and then not having Sam. So that's a whole nother method of going about setting up plays and calling different things. So I think from a opponent standpoint, when he's game planning lightly against some of the guys we play next year from last year, I think that's what he'll be looking for. But right now, I think his biggest bet is just to get on point with getting all his stuff in place, making sure all his transition is just right, and then to be able to have a nice structure or plan for when guys start in the spring. You want to be organized. So his biggest thing is organization.
Lucky Lefty podcast, man. It is amazing when you and Cam McDaniel talked about the ability of Mike Denbrock to literally form fit the offense around the talent on the roster and the talent on the offense. It has to make Notre Dame fans feel very inspired about what they could be watching, right? And we went over this yesterday and we compared Notre Dame to Washington, right? And, Notre Dame broke records offensively, did things offensively that were great. But then you go to the Clemson game, womp. You go to the Duke game, womp. Go to the Ohio State game, womp. Right? You go over to Washington and you look at their early schedule, Michigan State, Fresno State, Boise State, and it's like, 59, 47. Oh, okay, cool. Like, their offense is pretty good. The difference is once they got to Oregon, 38. Oregon again, 34. USC, 57. It's like in the big games, the same offense showed up. Yeah, every team is going to have a couple games where they struggle. They struggled against Arizona State. They struggled in torrential downpours against Washington State and Oregon State. But in the big games, against Utah, 30 points. That's when you prove yourself as an offense, right? And that's when Mike Denbrock and Riley Leonard are going to prove themselves. I'm not going to hold their feet to the fire week one. I'm not. I don't know how you feel about that, Left. Week one on the road, Texas A&M. I don't know. I'm cool if they beat Texas A&M 21-17,
Yes.
23-17. I'm
Yes.
not. I don't need 35, 40 points. I expect
Not the
that
first
to be a
game.
I expect that to be a tough atmosphere. I really do. Now, the last week of September against Louisville, revenge game at home, I expect 30, 40 points.
Yeah, there's definitely a grace period. First couple games of the season, just due to circumstances. Like, I didn't expect us to put 50 the first game when we had Navy, due to all the including factors.
I tried to tell you. I tried to warn you, Left. Like, you being a little disrespectful, bro.
I mean, it's just starting off to see now. I don't think it'll be 50 in this first game. I think Texas A&M it's gonna mean a little bit more to them. But
I mean,
you get your
Navy,
grace
Texas
period.
A&M, Mike Elko defensively. Of course. I mean, I'm willing to take that bet that they won't score 50.
But I think that I just want Riley to be consistent through the season in big moments. Can our offense trust the quarterback to put the ball in their hands in big moments? That's the key to victory for me. And Denbrock has obviously shown that he can do that. Jaden Daniels had 200 rushing yards and 400 passing yards in one game. So in terms of putting the ball in your playmakers' hands, Mike Denbrock knows, at least he showed that he can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Can he do it at Notre Dame? That's been the biggest mystery since he left. Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, no, because when we had Kyron, that was the last time I felt like we were going to our playmakers early and often. Like couldn't win without him type of deal.
You know what, Left? I just want the consistency to show up in the big games. That's it.
That's it.
I'm not
Not
worried
against
about
no, not against no Syracuse.
no.
Not against no Pitt where we score 180 points because it only worsens the feeling when
Yeah.
we crush these other teams and lose in these low score games against better teams. It's like something's got to add up. Either we lose in a high scoring game to a big team, or we should be sticking close to these teams we're blowing out to not give the appearance as if we're better than what we show, you know.
Lucky Lefty podcast. We're talking about the biggest questions in going into the off season that we have. And we want to know, what's your biggest question going into the off season? Biggest question number 2 left is going to be the young, inexperienced offensive line.
Yes.
Plenty of talent. We feel like we saw enough at left tackle in the bowl game, but it is a small sample size for Charles Jagusah. Okay. But he's extremely talented. The battle at right tackle, I'm sure, is going to wage itself into the spring, all the way through spring practice and probably into fall practice. With Tosh Baker, and then you throw Emil Wagner and Gerby Lambert into the mix in the fall. That's something else. Ashton Craig, I think, has solidified himself as the starting center. Billy Shroud is there at right guard. Pat Coogan is going to have to hold off Sullivan Absher and Pendleton, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's some young guys coming. And there's some guys coming in the 24 class. So I hope Pat Coogan can step up because he was very inconsistent and probably was the most inconsistent in the Sun Bowl, which is crazy because he's played the most snaps.
That's right.
What do you need to see? Because I already asked you about, how tough is it going to be for Joe Rudolph to get the best 5 moving forward? For you, this offensive line, and I'll say this, Left. Someone put it in the chat, and I'm glad they did because it reminded me of this. Michael Penix is protected by the Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line. There are no first or second round picks on that offensive line left. None.
None.
But they are locked in together. I think their starting center is 285 pounds left. 285.
Yeah.
Hey, that was smallish 10 years ago.
That's right.
So what is it? Because everybody's talking about the offensive line for Notre Dame, the young guys they have are bigger than what we're used to at Notre Dame. Size is good. Heck, Alabama averaged 330 and got their tails whooped all day.
Yeah.
By Michigan's defensive line. So size is one thing, but I would much rather have a unit that's locked in and cohesive. And that's what Washington gives you. They don't have top talent, but the way they work together, and please explain the importance of the quarterback, because like we said, the ability of Michael Penix to know what he's looking at pre-snap and to be able to communicate with that offensive line, how that impacts how the offensive line can go into next season. That's going to be something that's going to be very important for Riley Leonard or Steve Angeli as well.
Yeah, being able to operate is very crucial because you get the ball out of your hand fast. So for a guy like Michael Penix, who's a generational talent, master of his offense, he's not holding on to the football like Caleb Williams is.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not putting your offensive line in a lot of bad positions because you're running around the pocket. Most times when you watch in Washington, it's snap, balls out, whatever. You just don't see them taking a bunch of sacks or even teams blitzing because other teams are so worried about if they don't get to the quarterback fast enough, they might be exposed on the outside.
Yeah.
So then if that's the case, they are usually at two high safeties, and then they're running the football efficiently enough. So it keeps D linemen from pinning their ears back. Now teams got to every snap look and read. They're not just flying off the ball. So you're getting a lot of opportunity from a Washington offense when it's balanced. It helps the offensive line extremely.
I kind of like that.
Balanced offensive play, offensive calls make it a lot easier for the offensive line to block.
So, in your opinion, will that be one of the toughest things for Riley Leonard to adjust to in the offense? Or do you think that's something that's just comes either he knows and is good at pre-snap and making those adjustments because he's done it at Duke in a different system? Is that something or a skill set that transitions or transfers, shall I say, from system to system as a quarterback, your ability to read pre-snap and adjust things?
Well, we saw the difference in a guy that was very well decorated, not operate as smoothly as a guy that's been in the system. Sam didn't come in and make checks and go to the line and change protections or none of that. So Steve did. But that's because Steve was more comfortable in that system. Riley Leonard's game is a little more chaotic. He's running the football, he's extending the play. He was the best player on his team before. So him adjusting to working from what the offense and defense is giving you, that'll be an adjustment for him. So I do think it'll put a little more strain on the offensive line, just being able to hold up long enough for him to be able to make quicker decisions. So early on, I don't expect it to be the offensive line that we've looked at in the past, just because they're getting used to the way their quarterback plays. They know how Steve plays, so it's a little bit better of a understanding. But they don't know how Riley Leonard plays, and watching film, he's a little all over the place. Shit, against us, he's taking huge sacks, holding the ball too long, running into sacks. So it's one of those things where the line's going to take a minute to adjust, but the play calling has got to be to where Riley can operate efficiently and quickly enough so he's not holding on to the football, putting strain on that offensive line.
Yeah, once again, whomever is playing quarterback is going to be behind a young, inexperienced offensive line to start the season, and we'll see how they develop. But that is the second biggest question going into the off season right here on the Lucky Lefty podcast. Third biggest question: the evolution of Marcus Freeman as a head coach. In your opinion, Left, year 3, what is the next step in the evolution of Marcus Freeman as a head coach? Because he's clearly established himself as a solid head coach, first-time head coach in a tough position at a big program. He's won 19 games his first 2 years. It's not up to the standard of Notre Dame, but that's pretty good considering the position he was put in. And considering the fact that he had to work through a lot of red tape to finally get to a place where he has the guys on the staff that he actually wants as a head coach as well. So considering all that, what do you think is the next? Do you think this is an off season where he finally says, okay, I finally got all my guys in place? How does that impact him as a head coach? And what's the next step for him going to the next level as a head coach?
So we always talk about Ryan Day being born on third base. I think Marcus Freeman was born on first. He got on base.
I think he was still in the batter's box, Left.
Do you think he's in the bat? I think he was on,
Yeah,
I think he was on first. I think we got him a good hit to get him on first.
No, I think, man, with the way things went with Tommy getting signed before him and Andy Ludwig, I think he was down 0-2 in the count and worked a nice hit back to get a walk. And that's how we got the first. That's how we got the first, Left.
I think he had a great double, but he ended up hitting it to Bo Jackson in the outfield. And he got that cannon, and he cut him off at second. That's what I think.
He pulled up at first.
He pulled up at first, trying to round it, and his coach said, "No, slow down, stop. They got Bo Jackson with that cannon. He'll cut you off." And Tommy was that cutoff. So he got a good hit by getting the gig and inheriting a good program that was in good condition.
Yeah.
Good players. It wasn't like the cupboard was bare. So it was a nice potential double, but he hit it to that man out there that cut him off with
Mm-hmm.
that Tommy Reese action and foolishness. So now I would hope in 23 he just rounds the base, get the third, maybe even steal second, right? Get a splash win.
Mm.
Splash wins are what Marcus
Is
Freeman
there?
in this
I
position
don't. I
needs.
don't know. I don't know if that splash win. Looking at the schedule left. I mean, what would be the splash win on the schedule left?
There'll always be one in season like a Louisville team that we don't think is pretty average. It's going to be above average by the time we get to them.
Mm. You knew immediately that Ohio State was the splash win on last year's schedule. We knew that the year before.
Marcus Freeman splash wins are going to come in the playoffs, but I
Okay.
think that,
Okay.
but I think that that's where he can quantify himself as a head coach. Because I don't think in these first couple of years he even knows where he stands as a head coach at Notre Dame. Because he's dealt with so much turnover, he's dealt with things that I'm sure he probably doesn't take full blame for. But with a playoff system where it's never happened before, he gets to run it for the first time, sees how it goes. I think this is where he can see where he lies on the coaching spectrum, which I think will make stronger for the identity of what he wants to do moving forward, or even proving himself right that the culture he's building is on the right direction, especially offensively.
I think one of the major steps is I want to see him in his in-game strategy, his knowledge of the offensive side. I want to see it step up a little bit. Reggie Burks pointed that out. I also want to see his game management and his time management step up. That's very important. I think he's shown himself very well multiple games 2023, saving time at the end of the half to give his offense a chance to go down the field and put points on the board going into halftime. That's very important because the majority of the time Notre Dame is getting the second half kickoff, especially if they win, the coin flip. They're going to defer to the second half. So you get points going into the half and then come out and score first drive of the second half. Now, you're probably going to have a double-digit lead or cutting into a lead or getting back into a game and changing the whole trajectory of that game. So he's been pretty good at that. But that fourth quarter adjustment, that's when you make your hay, especially in big games, right? Because we saw the poor start by Alabama. We saw Michigan adjust. We saw Alabama adjust in the third quarter, and then we saw Jim Harbaugh and Michigan adjust once again late in that game. So that's something that I want to see him take a major step in. Game management and adjustment.
Maybe even seeing him play from a lead in big games.
Yeah.
What's his management on that? Mm-hmm. What's his management on going into some away games like a Syracuse and putting up those performances, but against a better team? I just think the respect and the mark of coaching is going to soar from his performances in the playoffs. So it's situational based. Obviously, you got to get to the playoffs, but I think that the team is recruited well enough, stacked well enough, coached by well enough coaches that we can auto drive ourselves into these playoffs.
See, Michael in the chat says that the splash win is getting into the playoffs. Nah.
No.
We have to disagree.
That's not going to be good enough for the
This is Notre Dame. Yeah, dude. This getting to the playoffs is not good enough.
We're not expecting that.
That's not a Notre Dame.
They're just not going to give him a pass.
No, they're not.
Because they're going to be like, couldn't get in the top 12?
No.
Because you got to think, after the top 5 or 6 teams, you really got to really be like, okay, who should get in? This should be pretty easy. After the top 6 or 7, 5 or 6 teams, it's like we really trying to get in. You're gonna see some teams that you like maybe got 3 losses.
Yeah.
You'll see a couple 3-loss teams in the back half of that 12. And I don't think we're gonna lose 3 games this year.
If the expansion existed this year, there would not have been a 3-loss team in the 12.
No, it wouldn't have been
the way this year played out.
Yeah, not this year.
I will say this: 2022 Clemson could be viewed as his biggest win. That's a splash win. Clemson was undefeated.
Man, it's hard to think of splash wins when you lose the games that could have really made the impact, and then you lose games that really are embarrassing. You know,
So
like splash
you
wins
want to see
come in
consistency.
moments of the season
Right, right.
where, I think splash wins develop in the season, where Louisville became a splash win for them.
Mhm.
I'm sure they didn't think they would be good enough to where at the time when we played them, where the hype and everything was at. So it's one of those things, man. I think Marcus Freeman should be looking forward to making his mark at Notre Dame through these playoffs because I don't think doing it the model of how this year is gone, he'll ever look better than Kelly, right? Because Kelly has won the most games. Now in this playoff system where it's a chance to get in that tournament type of play. Now Marcus Freeman can separate himself from the Kelly era a lot better, a lot more distinctly. Because before we're judging Marcus Freeman's performance off of what Kelly left off, which was pretty solid. I mean, the best you can really do is win a bunch of games and never win a championship. And if we kept this same type of style, Marcus Freeman was headed down the same road. Win a bunch of games and no championships. Now in this style, Marcus Freeman gets to stand alone and be like, okay, they can't say I'm like Brian Kelly because Brian Kelly didn't have to go through a 12-team playoff system. Now we judging Marcus Freeman on his own standing. Now we can compare and contrast. Okay, well, Marcus Freeman's first 3 years in the playoff system, he only went to the second and third round. Now when we shop for head coaches or whatever, we shopping for that fifth, sixth round or fourth, fifth round championship round coach. That's a quantifier. So that's where I think Marcus Freeman can make his mark on Notre Dame is how many rounds you going in playoffs? Did you get the championship? Did you pull off some a crazy underdog 10 seed and get all the way to the last? You can make narratives like that as a coach with this playoff style. Think about how hard it would be to identify the best basketball coaches in college basketball if we didn't have the March Madness tournament. Shaka Smart would have never got a job from VCU. Never got a job if he didn't do what he did in the tournament, right? So stuff like that. So I think this is where Marcus Freeman can equal the playing field with his comparison to Kelly, because I just don't think he would have ever outdid that. One, I don't think Notre Dame would have ever allowed Marcus Freeman, to stay that long without winning a championship. Secondly, winning a bunch of games and no championships have been done so much that it's like it's just almost a negative thing. Like Ryan Day not beating Michigan, but being like 40-3 is overshadowed by the team that he lost to 3 times, which is crazy. Any other 40-3 coach in college football, you got a statue outside. But because of where he's at, is graded a lot differently. So think about it. Riley Leonard is praised up and down Durham, North Carolina for these mediocre seasons. He gonna have to do something he has never done to even be mentioned as qualified worthy at Notre Dame. Think about that. He ain't never did this before. On top of the circumstances in the playoffs, it's a lot of pressure that he knows and maybe some doesn't know of, right? So it's really about, for me, the excitement of the journey, but also how does Marcus Freeman navigate the ship in new waters?
You know what? Hopefully he can be at the back of the ship like Jesus sleep. And when the storm hits, he can wake up and tell the storm, peace be still. Hopefully he has that type of power next year at the toughest moments for his football team. That calming effect to get them through the biggest games, the biggest storms, and the biggest moments. And that's one thing you can say. You can call Jim Harbaugh a cheater. You can say a lot of things about him. He seems to have a very common effect on his football team, along with his staff. And I can say the same thing about Kalen DeBoer and his staff as well. Heck, they set a record consecutive games, winning games by less than 10 points, especially against ranked opponents. It's crazy the way they're getting it done. And you know what the crazy thing is about Washington? There's a point in every game left where they have a chance to blow teams out. It's the craziest thing about Washington. You go watch every game, and there's a moment in that game they could have blown Oregon out in the Pac-12 championship game.
They blew them out in the second time they played them, yeah.
They could have, and they allowed Oregon to get back in the game. They could have blown Texas clean out of that game.
Yeah, I stopped watching after a while because the gap was getting too wide. It was like 14 with 3 minutes in the third left, you know.
It is crazy, man. It's crazy. But that is number 3 on our list of the 5 biggest questions we have going into the offseason. So the first was the relationship between Denbrock, Riley Leonard. Number 2, the young offensive line. Number 3, the evolution of Marcus Freeman as the head coach. Number 4, who the heck is going to be the one in the wide receiver room? That's a huge question for me, Lev. Get Bo Collins come in.
Who's going to be the one on offense in general?
And talk about it. Expand the conversation. Like, who? Who is going to be that dude? Who is going to be Blake Corum? Who is going to be Brock Bowers? Who is going to be, I guess, Isaiah Bond? Who's going to be Rome Odunze? Who is it going to be? Who is it going to be? It's going to be a very interesting spring and offseason to see how this develops and to see who jumps out to Mike Denbrock. I'm going to cast my lot right now, Left, only because we're doing this live. I'll cast my lot for Chris Mitchell, right? And this is one thing we said the other day. You got a problem with Jordan Faison as your number 1 next year. If Jordan Faison is your number 1 target, that's a problem. That's a problem. I can rock with Jordan Faison being a nice 2. I can rock with Jordan Faison being a 3. But if he's your number 1, I'm not happy with that. I wouldn't be happy with that. I would be very cautious about that wide receiver room. Who do you think is going to play out? How do you see it playing out, Left? Who would you, right now, today, who would you say is going to be the number 1 in the wide receiver room? I think we might have lost Left. Tell us in the chat, guys. What are you thinking?
I hope Denbrock has the ability as a chef to take all these ingredients and make a good meal out of them. How is he going to put chocolate, corn chips, condensed milk, spaghetti noodles, a couple of tomatoes, a couple of potatoes, and bring out one of them Chef Gordon Ramsay Michelin 5-star buffet style meal for the season? Because when you look at it, you got good ingredients, but a funky combination. You got some good chocolate, good German chocolate, premium #1 cocoa bean from the plant itself. But you got to mix that with some pasta Alfredo. How you gonna make that taste good? Quality ingredients, but you got to make a meal out of it. And that's the mystery, because Marcus Freeman is saying, hey, I got to feed these tables. I need this food hot and ready, delicious. And Denbrock like, man, I'm trying to think of a recipe, man. Ain't no recipe. I just got a refrigerator full of good stuff. Ain't no recipes. The guy before took his cookbook and ran off to another restaurant. He was using the same one for about 5 years. So the restaurant used to a certain menu. So now I got to go back and, I got to put my meals together, get my chefs ready. So that's what he's got to deal with. So I don't really know. I mean, I believe because it's a historically great restaurant that no matter who's in the kitchen as the head chef, gonna put out something edible. It's gonna be good. It's a nice date spot still. But the food got to be more excellent. Because I'm a food critic. I go around writing how I feel about these meals like Keith Lee at these restaurants. The Notre Dame restaurant's my favorite, so it's got to be up to par.
Are you a Keith Lee fan?
I mean, how do you be a fan of that? The man just be making reviews.
I mean, I understand both sides of it, right? A lot of people in the chat saying Jordan Faison can be Jordan Faison. Can you explain schematically, as an offensive coordinator yourself, why Jordan Faison being the number one is not ideal? Because I think I know why, but I would much rather you explain it from a quarterback's point of view and an offensive coordinator's point of view.
Well, from a program standpoint, no, man. This is not Rudy. This is big time, major college football with a lot of money and a lot of investment and a lot of time spent and a lot of protocols that gotta work. We're not shocking college football with no walk-on receiver being the number one on a team that's trying to win a championship. No. Get with the program. Get you a Devontae Smith. Get you one of these top receivers, man. Stop playing. Secondly, the size. He's not Tyreek Hill fast. So to be featuring him with the size he has, it's just not going to last a whole season. Thirdly, gosh darn it, you're recruiting. You're recruiting. The longer this becomes a story, the bigger of an indictment on your own recruiting this becomes. Mike Brown don't want to deal with that. Mike Brown not trying to go into these media things, talk about Jordan Faison. He tried to talk about what he bringing in and the new guys he developing, the old veterans, the stars, the 4 or 5 star guys that people want to know about. The feel-good stories are not stories that are going to help us win championships. Jordan Faison can be an integral part of the team. Make 5 or 6 catches in the game. Make some impact plays on special teams. But from a number one's point of view, that needs to be your dog. A guy you can't find everywhere. You can find Jordan Faison at any D2, D3, low NAIA, Mountain West, MAC school around. A bunch of them. Let's stop making these guys so famous like we just came up on a prospect that everybody missed on. That's no. Give us an Evan Stewart. Then we can talk about number one.
Oh, by the way, Evan Stewart must be requesting a huge bag, bro. He's straight turning down big programs. Like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to go ahead and go on another visit. It's like, Evan Stewart is a dude, right? Ryan Williams, who's going to be a freshman at Alabama. It's a dude. Jeremiah Smith is going to be by the way, your boy up there at Ohio State, the wide receiver coach, is taking a lot of heat from former Ohio State players. A lot of heat.
Who is?
Wide receiver coach at Ohio State. Your boy Brian Hartline.
For what?
Man, recently one Ohio State former player said, dude, he don't even get credit for Marvin Harrison Jr. His father's a Hall of Famer. That's his coach. I said, man, you can't even get a man credit for Marv?
Well, that's not fair.
Like, that's crazy.
That's not fair. Because at the end of the day, all them receivers that came through there had to be recruited by the man.
Mm-hmm.
So he got to have some credit. Like, don't do that, you know?
Yeah.
And then half of it is the success of the room.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I've been around talented receiver rooms that didn't have a great coach and they didn't look good.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you why. Is the points you made out of all the points? I mean, the size is real. That's a real point, right? Because most number ones on championship teams do not resemble. I'll say it like this: Jordan Faison can be a 2. I would love for him to be a 3.
I'd love for him to be a 3.
You scout, you go around to these camps, you compete against high schools, coach against other high school players. So small, fast guys, in your opinion, are plentiful all around. Guys like Chris Mitchell.
This thing is about hating is real funny to me. I gotta address this.
I told you that's what people say, dude. Anytime,
but we have to address the hating. In my opinion, hating is saying that a player is not going to be productive. Knowing and watching him be productive and saying he's not going to be productive. My thing is, it's all about optics. Optically, no. Maybe if we was Tulane, maybe if we was a smaller program, yeah. But some things just, like Alabama don't do that. They got walk-on guys, yeah, but Alabama, come on, man. Just imagine if we was an NBA team. And Jabari Parker, we're trying to pump up. Or Jaleel Okafor, we're trying to pump up as a guy that's going to take us to the championship. He's not LaMarcus Aldridge.
You know what? You know a great example. Let me give you a great example, Left. 2012, your boy Breezy popped just like Jordan Faison. Every big game, Chris Brown came in and had a deep pass or a big reception.
Chris Brown was a recruited player.
No, this is my point. He popped as a freshman, just like Jordan Faison popped. Same way. But he wasn't a 1. Just because you pop, that doesn't mean you're a 1. It means you're going to be a good player. And Chris Brown was a very good player.
Okay, you're absolutely right.
Consistently 40 receptions, a great 2.
He was never a number 1, but he was always in the game making plays.
Always in the game making plays. But as soon as Will Fuller showed up,
that was a distinction.
That was a distinction. You knew
Will Fuller. We didn't choose Will Fuller to be number. No. Will Fuller distinctively was the number 1. Period. Mm-hmm. And Chris Brown was not Will Fuller, but Chris Brown needed to play. Chris Brown played the most out of any receiver from 2013 to 16. He had the most time, most snaps.
Chris Brown
he was never underrated.
He's a very underrated player in Notre Dame history, in my opinion.
Very
consistent and solid. Very consistent.
Very.
A lot of people thought because of the speed that he would take another step.
But he just never. That wasn't his role, I guess. You know.
Yes.
He was always a Manu Ginobili, just never a full-time starter. But you can't win games without Manu. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got to be there.
And that's a good comp, because I think Jordan Faison is going to be a reason why you win games.
He's that mismatch on third down that he gets open, and you're like, damn, there you go. There you go, making plays.
Absolutely.
But
He's
on a
gonna.
consistent game plan basis, we need to have, we need to watch out for JT. We need to watch out for Chris Mitchell or
Hmm.
number one, because that's what we're selling as a program. It's hard to sell and recruit any receiver when you're like, oh yeah, our walk-on's a number one. Let's talk to him. Like, no, bro. Carnell Tate is not looking at Jordan Faison and being like, damn, I gotta go to Notre Dame. Because he's gonna be like, damn, what happened to all them recruited guys? Y'all gonna do me like that?
Yeah.
Y'all telling me all them recruited guys just not as good as y'all walk-on player? If I'm Carnell Tate or a top receiver in the recruiting class?
Yeah,
Because what
because we're
Carnell
talking
Tate said, he
about.
said, I saw Chris Olave, I saw Garrett Wilson, and
Hmm.
and damn, Michael
Right.
Thomas. How do I and they want
Yeah.
me? Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta go. What we talking
Yeah.
about? That's the
Yeah.
recruiting.
Yeah.
We're not attracting any top receivers saying, hey, let's get Jordan Faison. No. Jordan Faison is a gift to a program like a Chris Fink. Chris Fink wasn't number one, but Chris
Chris
Fink
Pink was
was
solid.
a
Solid.
solid player.
Very solid,
You're
left.
like, damn, Chris Fink, give him the ball, bro. In certain parts of the game, Michigan jumping on two players, catch the. So it's like, yeah, you can have a player like that with impact, but
Hmm.
as a number one, let's not just wholeheartedly sell out on that either, because I think just throughout a season it becomes okay. Y'all say y'all Jordan Faison, y'all guy, let's lock him up. We want him to be free and open all season. The only way he's
Facts.
doing that is by not being the main attraction.
But so basically, what you're saying is that defenses really didn't scheme for Jordan Faison because nobody knew about it
Yeah, nobody
this
knew
year.
about it, and they're looking at it like he's on the roster itself. Like, oh, he's five, whatever, one, whatever.
Hmm.
But what about these other monsters they got on the field? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's the attention that Jordan Faison is successful because of that.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
not Zay Flowers,
Yeah.
where I'm sure they got the same measurables, but that's Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers out there, that kind of thing. Most
Yeah.
receptions in college football, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
nice to see Angeli go early and often to a guy that at that point in the season is making plays, and that was Jordan Faison. I mean, he's making great catches.
And a guy that he probably spent most of the time on the second squad throwing
Man, that
to.
scout team with him and Jordan Faison, he's probably lighting it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lighting it up against Ben Morrison.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say, look, you want to keep Jordan Faison in a position where he can be a chess piece and use his athleticism and speed. It would be perfect, especially if you're pairing him with Mitchell Evans going over the middle, Eli Raridan going over the middle, or you start talking about Jaden Greathouse taking the next step in his evolution as well. But if you can get Bo Collins and Chris Mitchell to be threats on the outside to the field and to the boundary, now, dude, now you're talking. Now you're talking, right? And Chris Fink was able to have big guys on the outside that were at least threats. They might not have been like Randy Moss, but they were threats. And that allowed Chris Fink to go ahead and do some things on the inside, right? Like I said, the last season that Notre Dame had 3 receivers, over 30 receptions. I had it in my notes somewhere because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I think it was like the 2017 season, if I'm not mistaken, left.
Who is that? Chase Claypool?
I think it was Chase, Chris Fink, and was it Miles? Let me
Or
see.
Kyron? Shit, Kyron probably had a bunch of receptions.
No, I was actually wide receivers. I'm talking about strictly wide receivers.
Oh.
But yeah, just go ahead and talk about Bo Collins and Chris Mitchell and what you need to see from those guys to give Jordan Faison the opportunity to do what he does best.
Well, I hope Bo Collins comes in with a mindset that's, I need to come in and dominate. Clearly, that wasn't the agenda over at Clemson, where they probably avoided more times of throwing the football as opposed to try to keep the ball out of Cade Klubnik's hands from ruining the game.
Facts.
So I do think Chris Mitchell and Bo Collins especially should come in wanting to be the 1-2 combo punch. I think that should just be the mindset they have going in, because one, Bo Collins is too big physically of a player not to have had more attention nationally. I'm wanting to look like Keon Coleman out of Florida State. That transfer worked out great. Same sort of measure.
It was 2018 left.
Oh, okay,
2018. Yeah. Miles had 59 receptions, Chase had 50, and Chris Fink had 49.
Right. That's a solid day.
And
the thing that you watch in Washington is they got 3 or 4 receivers. Well, 3 receivers and they tight end that they all getting love. They all being impactful in the game. That's what Notre Dame can be, especially the way we recruit, where we have a bunch of talent. Let the ball spray a little bit. Now, obviously, it's conducted by a generational guy at QB. And look how easy it is to see how much talent a team has when a guy can disperse the ball like he does. So it works both ways. So I do think, in 2018 with Ian, at that point he's very comfortable, he's experienced, he's been through some things. Even in his under 3,000 yard seasons, he's giving out the ball to guys.
Yeah.
But it's a trust level to that as well. But it's possible.
Yeah. Lucky Lefty podcast. Everybody right now in the chat, hey man.
You got to chill. You got to chill. You got to chill.
Yo. Relax, man. This is how stuff gets started. This is how false information ends up on message boards and other shows. Nobody on this show said he couldn't play. When did you ever hear anybody say Jordan Faison can't play? We said if he's your number one option and you're targeting him 13 times a game, that says something about the wide receiver room. Can we listen to the nuanced conversation we're trying to have instead of thinking this is an attack on the talents of Jordan Faison? Relax. No one has said that Jordan Faison can't ball. But to have someone that small at your program as the number one impacts recruiting, whether you believe it or not, because kids want to see players like them that they feel can go to the first round. Jordan Faison is not going to be a first round pick.
Yeah, he's not even a first round talent.
He's not. If you're talking about
why are you not
guys
first
and wide
round
receivers, you have to have guys like Bo Collins improve under Mike Brown. You have to see Chris Mitchell on the big stage do what he did at Florida International. These are things that kids are watching. It has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not Jordan Faison is a good player. He's a good player. We've said it multiple times. Go to the post-game show in the Sun Bowl. Malik admitted, like, yo, this kid has proven to me and changed my mind about who he is. We're having a full-fledged, nuanced conversation about the wide receiver room and what.
But the thing that won't change my mind and will never change any of you guys' mind is that he's a first-round talent. This is Notre Dame. We produced Quentin Nelson, Ronnie Stanley, first-round guys. So you need a first-round talent.
Cam Williams,
one of the EQ types.
Cam Williams is a possible first-round
talent. Exactly. Jeremiah Love, possible first-round talent.
Jaden Greathouse, possible late first, second-round talent.
He's second, third round. He's got to get his speed up a little bit. But if he has 100 receptions in a season, he's a first-round talent. You know what I mean?
That cat, Ryan Roberts, who's in the chat, is down in San Antonio right now watching first-round talent.
Yeah.
And I want to ask him, I'll ask him today, how many people like Jordan Faison do you see in San Antonio?
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with whether or not you can play.
Had nothing to do with whether
the kid can play.
Kids in recruiting need to see guys go first round.
They need to see kids like them, 6'2", 6'3", that can run like
what did Justin Scott tell us word for word? I don't want to go to a place where I'm better than the dudes.
He literally said, I don't want to go to a place where I don't know the dude next to me.
What receiver's going to be like, man, I'm trying to go because of Jordan Faison. No top receiver would ever say that. And that's not an indictment on Jordan Faison at all because, shit, he was trying to play lacrosse coming out. So it's like, let's just be appreciative of what has been blessed to us that we've discovered on our football team. But leave it at that. Because the real thing is, first-round talent players are attracted to first-round talent players. You get first round happening like an Alabama receiver room. You drop a receiver Heisman.
Mm-hmm.
You have a good shot for at least the next 5 or 6 years to get a number 1 receiver in that room.
Yeah.
From the transfer portal to the high school chart.
Yeah.
You have a very good chance.
Yeah.
What is the chances? Even if Jordan Faison has a great season, I'm talking about 50 receptions. What's the likelihood of you securing a number 1 receiver because of him for the next 5 years? They probably wouldn't even remember his name. Wouldn't know him on campus if you saw him today.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need one of them freaks where they walking around being like, what team you play for?
Yeah.
One of them kind of dudes. Do you play football, Mr. Tall, strong man? That's the type of talent we need walking around campus. Because that's going to attract the right stuff.
Yeah.
No, you can have the feel good Rudy stories about Jordan Faison. Yeah, brother, you can win newcomer of the year, team MVP. You can do all that.
Mm-hmm.
But from the outside world,
yeah,
we need to be dropping them, first round guys. Period.
So,
we a factory, not a boutique shop.
Listening has to be a skill.
Boutiques where you can find that nice little piece, that nice little sweater at second time around. No, this is Macy's.
And once
this
again,
is Nordstrom's.
Once again, listening is a skill, right? He never said that he can be a number 1 because he's a walk-on. He said Notre Dame doesn't need Rudy stories. Once again, stop pigeonholing the conversation. He said that and expanded to the impact on recruiting and what kids want to see. And as somebody else said in the chat, kids don't care who they watch. That's a lie. You go talk to these high school kids, Ryan Roberts will tell you, they're watching Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, guys that were taken in the top 10 in the draft. That's who they emulate themselves at. Nobody's emulating themselves after Jordan Faison.
Look what happened for LSU.
Unless they look like Jordan Faison and they're small. So to say, no, nobody, who? Name a top wide receiver that emulated themselves after Wes Welker. Now, I'll wait. Who? Cooper Kupp even said, yo, I watched Mike Evans, and he played in FCS. Mike Evans wasn't looking up to Wes Welker. Cooper Kupp wanted to be like the top guys. And top guys in the NFL don't look like Jordan Faison. They don't. The conversation has zero to do with whether or not the young man can play football. He's proven that. We don't ever have to talk about that. We're talking about a nuanced conversation about the fact that if that dude is your number 1 option, that's a problem. That's a problem. And if you don't want to admit that's a problem, then we don't know what to tell you. Because if you look at the championship contenders this year, none of them have a number 1 that looks like Jordan Faison.
Yeah, none of them.
You can go back years.
Don't look like Jordan Faison.
None. That's not.
It would be nice if we can win championships and Rudy stories. I mean, yeah, I'm all for a good Rudy.
if that's the case, we've had plenty of Rudy stories over the last 10
Salerno,
years.
Salami, whatever, we had him.
Chris Fink, you could call him a Rudy
And
story.
Fink was good. I
Fink
never
was
down
good.
Chris Fink. Chris Fink he did beyond expectations, and
We paid Jordan Faison the ultimate compliment. We said Jordan Faison can be to this offense and this program what Chris Brown was. Chris Brown was, from the moment he set foot on the campus, Chris Brown popped in big games as a true freshman got better every year and was consistent. He was consistent. That's all you're asking for the kid.
He was a great player to have better players play off of. He was that got that solid figure in the receiver room where guys that could get better off of that because they knew the expectation. Anytime we was in workouts, Chris Brown, the first one running. So that made Will Fuller always be on his game. That made CJ always be on his game. That made Corey Robinson, Corey Holmes, all the Torrey Hunter had to be on their game because Chris Brown was just always going to meet that expectation. So once we all met Chris Brown's effort and attitude, expectation, then you start to see Will Fuller. You start to see the EQs, you start to see guys pop. Because guys had a foundation, a leader. Chris Brown wasn't the number one. But it was okay because Chris Brown inspired the number one.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't get a Will Fuller without a Chris Brown.
Man, please.
Because realistically, you had the game plan for both of them.
Wait. First of all, the fact that somebody put Lab McConkey in the chat, we all know who Georgia isn't going to Lab McConkey in the fourth quarter, man. What are we talking about? Come on, y'all got to be serious, man. Golden Tate was a physical receiver. Jordan Faison is not a physical receiver. That's not who he is. Golden Tate also played with Michael Floyd, who was a number one. Hey, what are we left? People get so upset, man, because they're so offended, and their sensibilities are so offended when you have a conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, if Jordan Faison is your number one target next year in the wide receiver room, it's a problem for several reasons. It's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem in development. It's a problem in what you evaluated in the transfer portal. And it's a problem with the talent you recruited. It's a problem. I'm sorry. And more than likely, you're not going to win a championship if Jordan Faison is your number one receiver in your receiver room. Period. That's it. That's the conversation. No one said he's not good. No one said he isn't fast. Once again, he's totally built different than Tyreek Hill. He's built totally different. And he's nowhere near as fast. I'm not going to say no. He's not as fast as Tyreek Hill. He's not.
Man, you guys been drinking this morning if you think he's fast.
He's just
First
not.
of all, Tyreek Hill is like generational fast. Like,
he's not. He's just not. He's not. The conversation is, can he be the number one? Can he have the best stats? That's not even the conversation.
And don't you want to see Jordan Faison succeed? Jordan Faison succeeds better
if he's not the number one. Thank you. Thank you. If he can work from the slot, if you have to move him to the outside consistently, it's going to be a big picture problem.
It's going to be a big picture problem. That's going to be an easy thing to defend.
That's all the conversation was. That's it.
Isn't Chris Mitchell supposed to play the same position?
Thank you. You
like Chris Mitchell's supposed to come in and Jordan Faison supposed to be support. Like
no. Chris Mitchell's they want him to play to the field. Okay. According to what we've heard, they want him to play to the field.
Okay, I'm just saying, like, for real.
You know, dude. And on so many levels, offense, and that's why I asked you to break it down as a quarterback and an offensive coordinator, scheme-wise. So it wouldn't become personal. Like, break it down, scheme, big picture, everything, right? Because I knew people were going to be like, oh, man, he's good. We're not saying he's not good. The wide receiver room is one of the biggest question marks.
And the other thing,
wait. I'll ask it this way. If you had your choice and your preference of who is going to be the most impactful receiver this time next year for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who would it be? And I'll be very interested by preference how many people would say Jordan Faison. Because I guarantee most people will vote somebody else besides Jordan Faison. I guarantee that. So if your preference is that somebody else becomes that dude, then obviously there is a consensus that says, yo, Notre Dame should probably have somebody else be the number one to help everybody else out. Period. That's it. You can't say Faison is the best playmaker. Jaden Greathouse was making plays from the first game he played before he got injured. So you can't say he's the best playmaker. We haven't seen Jaden Greathouse play a full season healthy. If Jaden Greathouse was healthy, he would have been making plays all year because he started it from the first game and was consistent. Just about every week, he was making plays from the slot. This is what I'm talking about. The room has talent. Jaden Thomas comes back healthy immediately, making plays, right? He's not as fast, but he's immediately making plays. Steve Angeli hitting him. If Jaden Thomas can stay healthy, he probably can do that consistently. He probably has an outside chance to be a number one. Left probably has an outside shot to be a number one.
Who?
Jaden Thomas has an outside shot to be a number one.
I mean, I think his window's more so past, but maybe. He should play tight end.
See, this is people like Ross Morrison said Greathouse doesn't have Faison speed or agility. Doesn't make a difference. He was making plays. So this is what we're talking about. He makes plays. Who cares if he's not as fast? As soon as he got on the field against Navy, he made plays. That's what you want. You want playmakers. They're both playmakers. Period. They're both playmakers. They're both playmakers. I think one of the things we can say definitively in this fan base is that we're coming to an era where we should be ecstatic to have this conversation, guys. You know why? Because we had to deal with the main target being a tight end for the previous 5 years.
5-6 years.
In the passing game. We went into the game, dude, even when we played Georgia in 19, I believe. We played Georgia in 19. Cole Kmet came back from injury and had a better.
We were trying to feed Cole Kmet.
We were trying to feed Cole Kmet in that game. Chase Claypool didn't get anything. And here we are, we're having a fun conversation about the wide receiver room and the talent that we have, and saying if we can put Jordan Faison at the 2 or 3, what does that say about the talent in the wide receiver room? That's the ideal room we would want to have. And we haven't had this type of conversation left in almost 5 years about Notre Dame wide receivers. And we can't even be happy about the conversation. This is a great conversation to have. Jordan Faison possibly being a 2 or 3. Are you kidding me? Cam Williams possibly Cam Williams could possibly be a 4 until he grows up and maybe jumps to a 2. Jaden Greathouse can be a 2. Jaden Thomas has an outside chance of being a 1. Chris Mitchell can be a 1A. If Bo Collins reaches his potential, he could be a 1A or 1B. Look, when was the last time we had this type of conversation about the wide receiver room at Notre Dame? I'm talking about this type of fun conversation. When? Like, there is nothing. We don't have fun with it. They all can play. We think they all can play. Deion Cozy, when he's played, the last time he played was what, that USC game? Didn't he have 2 touchdowns on the road against USC? The last time we saw him? So we just need guys to be healthy, which Lauren Landau, keep Jaden Greathouse, Jaden Thomas, and Deion Cozy healthy. Man, from our lips up to God, we need perfect health for those guys. Jordan Faison, yo, with his size, stay healthy. Please stay healthy. Please stay healthy. Chris Mitchell, Bo Collins. Chris Mitchell, we need you to come do what you've been doing. Over 1,000 yards, 70 receptions. We don't even need that in Notre Dame. We don't need 70. We'll take it. We'll take it. I'll take 70. I'll take it. I'll take it. 70 over 1,000. I'll take it. But if you give us 50 with the same touchdowns and the same average per catch, that's all we need. Bo Collins, just step it up a little bit, bro. Give us 40. Give us 50. Be a red zone target.
Make big plays Bo Collins, be a player for Bo Collins.
Be a playmaker, absolutely. Be a playmaker for Notre Dame and what we need.
Because we know we giving y'all. I mean, we know that the trade right now is not fair.
Dude, do you understand? This is why this conversation should be joyous and fun. Man, we have come from the days of Dale Alexander until now, where we can literally talk about, yo, the wide receivers are going to produce more than the tight ends in the passing game at Notre Dame, and have a firm belief that that's about to happen in 2024, even though it's a question mark. And the question mark is, who's going to become the dude? Who's going to become that dude that you go to in the fourth quarter? Who's the dude? For us, it was always who? Michael Mayer. Fourth quarter, we need a big play. Where's our tight end? Same thing this year. Sam Hartman was looking at Mitchell Evans this year. That he was looking at, dude. Ohio State, Mitchell. Duke, Mitchell. So for 5 consecutive years, it was like, dude, the tight end was the guy. He's the guy in the offense in the passing game. That's who we're going to. And we finally have a shot. Yes, I'm thank you for reminding me about KK Smith, who reportedly has been looking great in practices.
Who has?
KK Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He red-shirted this year. He was a true freshman. This should be, man, Notre Dame fans, get excited, man. Get excited. And get excited about the fact that if you can keep Jordan Faison inside and keep him as a 2 in the offense, it maximizes the offense. That's what we should want. You just can't say, well, I don't care. No, you should care. We all should care about what maximizes the offense. If you can keep him, the same thing, right? Alabama had 2 great defensive backs, and Kool-Aid and the other kid, I forget his name. Terrion Arnold, right? What did Michigan do in the passing game? They schemed and motioned to put their 3rd and 4th receivers on the safeties and linebackers, and that's how they made plays. They didn't even, because they said, yo, those 2 dogs they got on the outside of defensive back, we're not even going to mess with them. Leave them alone. We're going to run crossing routes, clear it out, and take advantage of these safeties and linebackers, which is very smart. Very smart. And those positions, that's where you want Jordan Faison working. Now, I can all accept. I'm not going to, the low-hanging fruit is to like discredit. And I don't like when people do this. The low-hanging fruit, and I've heard, well, look, the low-hanging fruit would be to discredit what Jordan Faison did because of the defense he went up against. Right? The pass defense wasn't that good. The best players in the secondary opted out. I'm not taking that route. If you ball, you ball. I don't care who you're playing against. I don't care. You ball, you ball. I am not taking, man, I'm going to give all the flowers to Jordan Faison. And I don't feel like Steve Angeli got robbed. I think they both were deserving of possibly receiving co-MVPs in that Sun Bowl. Period. Period. But what we should all want left before we get to our fifth topic for biggest questions in the offseason, what we should all want is that Jordan Faison be put in the most optimal position.
In the most favorable matchups to win.
Yes. Yes.
When we need a first down or something.
Because when Jay Thomas got injured, Deion Cozy couldn't come back as soon as they thought. Notre Dame had to move Jordan Faison outside, which is more running and a totally different physicality. And he ended up getting injured. And we lost him for the majority of the season. Why? Because that's not what he's used to doing. That's not the most favorable spot for him. Keep Jordan Faison in the most favorable spot, and it's going to maximize the strength of the rest of the wide receiver room. It only makes us better. Has nothing to do with his talent, has nothing to do with discrediting the kid. Left, you've cracked lacrosse jokes. I never cracked lacrosse jokes. I do. First time I saw him play against Louisville, I'm like, well, heck, if that's who we have making plays, hey, here's to you. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, lacrosse jokes just saying like, hey, that wasn't your main focus. Like some of the guys we're recruiting are, which we're expecting great things from. So, yeah, Jordan can produce great things, but he's in a better position when we don't know about it.
I do. We're about to go to the next one because people are like coloring outside the lines. People keep talking about if he becomes a star. Dude, if he becomes a star, he becomes a star. What's your point? Hunter Renfrow was a star for Clemson.
Star.
He wasn't the number one receiver in their offense. It was
And
a guy
still
by the
not
name.
in the pros.
It was a guy by the name of Mike Williams. Hunter Renfrow was a star and starred in big games for Clemson, but he was not the number one receiver. And you know why he was able to do what he did? Because he had Mike Williams.
Because he was
on the
not
outside.
the number one receiver. Yes, exactly.
Thank you. Thank you. He was much better with Mike Williams and the other big guy they had on the outside, which gave him the liberty to roam on the inside and do what he does best. And he was a star at Clemson. He was a flat out star.
What'd you say? At Clemson.
I mean, dude. I mean, a star is a star. I'm not about to get into the Clemson Notre Dame. We know Notre Dame.
No, I'm saying no. I'm saying at the program that he was at, not on a national level.
Yeah. But like
because Mike Williams was the national level.
NC Notre Dame fans said, look, you know, Hunter's like, I don't know. I haven't followed his pro career. Right. So if he's lighting it up with the Raiders, he has Devontae Adams on the outside.
That's what I'm saying. He's not the number one at the Raiders.
He's not the number one.
He's good, but
he's being put in the right position to do what he does. That's all we want for Jordan Faison. Don't ask him to do things he's not built to do. That's not who he is. Let him do what he does and what he's best at. Period. That's it. Let him operate in space. You're not about to put Jordan Faison in the boundary at wide receiver. If Jordan Faison is in the boundary at wide receiver, it's a problem.
It's a huge problem.
It's a problem. It's a problem. But we sit here January the 3rd, 2024, and I'm amped, dude, because we're talking about a potential wide receiver room that could literally have 3 to 4 guys over 30 receptions. And I don't care who leads in stats. I don't. But at the end of the game, somebody has to be a dude. Because you see in that championship game, Hunter Renfrow caught the winning touchdown. But you know why? You know why? Because they had 2 consecutive pass interferences on Mike Williams in the end zone prior to that play. And Alabama knew we got to double this dude. So Hunter Renfrow was man-to-man against the 3rd defensive back. Mismatch. Mismatch. Period. That's what gives Washington a chance against that great Michigan defense. Will Johnson, he's probably going to follow Odunze. Okay, Will Johnson, you and Odunze, y'all cancel each other out. Who's taking McMillan? Who's taking Pope? Who's guarding Westover? Who's guarding Bernard? See, that's the problem. Because Rome Odunze has made plays all year against the best talent at defensive back. More than likely, he's going to make plays against Will Johnson. But who's going to stick the other 4 to 5 guys? That's what you want to see out of the Notre Dame wide receiver room in 2024. Jordan Faison, fine. Who's going to stick Chris Mitchell? Who's going to stick Bo Collins? Who's going to stick Mitchell Evans? Who's going to stick Eli Rare? Oh, who's going to stick Jaden Greathouse? That's exactly what you want to see from this Notre Dame wide receiver room. But who's going to be that dude in the 4th quarter when you need a play? Who's going to be Devontae Smith? Who's going to be Mike Williams? Who's going to be Jamar Chase? Who's going to be that dude? Who is it going to be? Who is it going to be? And by saying who's going to be that dude, being the dude doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the guy that makes the play. Because we just pointed out the effect of Mike Williams in that championship game and how it put Hunter Renfrow in position to catch the winning touchdown because he was being defended by the 3rd best defensive back and had a mismatch. Who's going to be that guy for Notre Dame that the defense is going to say, yo, we got to take this dude away. We got to take him away. And we'll take our chances with guarding these guys man to man. It's even if it forces teams, which this is the other thing, Notre Dame fans. When was the last time you saw Notre Dame and a quarterback from Notre Dame that didn't face 7, 8 in the box every down?
Yeah, that's right.
Michael Penix rarely looks at 7, 8 in the box. Rarely. How you're not bringing a safety down with those wide receivers he has? You're not. That's another thing. Like, dude, this might be a year where Riley Leonard is literally looking at 2 safeties back. Like, yo, we got Chris Mitchell and Jordan Faison on the field. Yo, we got to keep these safeties back and keep everything in front of us. That's what we have to do. Keep the safeties back. Let's try to keep everything in front of us. I can't tell you who. You and Deshaun might have been the last quarterbacks to see that at Notre Dame because you had Will on the field.
Yeah.
That's it. Will, because you had Will and Chris Brown on the field. That was the last time Notre Dame quarterbacks consistently looked at 2 high safeties. And hopefully, man, we do. It's been a while since we've seen that. Honestly, Left, I wish we were playing Ohio State with Mike Denbrock, Riley Leonard, and these receivers, rather than Sam Hartman and who we had this year. I wish we could run it back with Ohio State. I don't even need the game to be in Notre Dame Stadium. We'll go up there. We'll go back to Ohio Stadium with the talent we're going to have offensively this year. Let's go. Let's run it back. Because I want that Ohio State win bad. Bad. You know, this is a question for Left. Left, here's a good question for you. Early GTV. Do you think we'll we will be. Do you think throwing the ball like that or running the ball with all the good running backs would be better?
Well, I think that it's a balance. I think that Washington proves that they have a balance. They have 2 first-round receivers and a good running game. So it's a balance in the sense that they do what needs to win the game in that moment. But when it comes down to it, they have enough talent to do it through the air and on the ground. I think this is the first year where we hopefully can do it through the air. Gives us another dimension. When teams take away one, we're able to still.
We lost left right there, but if we get him back, I'll let him finish. But look.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. Go ahead. Finish up.
Yeah.
Left.
So I was just saying, yeah, so we can be productive and not one dimensional where we're getting in tight games trying to run the football from the 50 and out to win the game. So I think that having this balanced attack with Denbrock having more experience in doing that, I think it just adds the threat and consistency that we need on offense to be that championship team, like how Washington looks.
And I don't want to compare Notre Dame to Washington next year.
Right. We're just talking about a balanced attack.
But see, because I understand why Kalen DeBoer, according to the story that we talked about, that was a story that was printed, I believe, in the USA, on the Athletic. And other defensive coordinators in the story said Kalen DeBoer doesn't even want to run the ball. Like, they don't want to run the ball. Washington doesn't want to run the ball. But because they attack you vertically and horizontally down to down, they can run it whenever they want to. They can run it whenever they want to. And that is absolutely amazing, man. That's why Dylan Johnson has been big in just about every big game for them. Because they know teams come in trying to stop the pass and finding a way to pressure the quarterback. And in trying to do so, they leave their defense totally susceptible to the run game. And with play calling, they take advantage of it. Let me just read this to you, Left. Remember when Kirby Moore was mentioned with the offensive coordinator job in Notre Dame as a candidate, and we kind of laid out the offense and everything. So if you want to, to go to this, to answer the question, Missouri had 3 receivers with at least 40 receptions. Well, I'll take that back. They had 2 over 40, and then they had 1 right at 38. And so, give or take a few. But they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 receivers in double-figure receptions Left. 7 receivers with double-figure receptions. And one of those was Cody
That's pretty
Schrader.
good.
One of those was Cody Schrader, the running back. So 6 wide receivers, 1 running back. That's pretty good, right, Left? 6 receivers with double figures in receptions. Luther Burden had 86 for 12-12.
That's really good.
Weiss Jr. had 49 for 682. And then Mookie had 38 for 447. But they all averaged over 12 yards per reception. See, that's the key. Their fourth receiver, Marquise Johnson, 13 receptions, but he averaged 28 yards of reception Left. So he had impact. The long for Burden, 86. Long for Weiss, 72. Long for Mookie, 41. Long for Johnson, 76. Impactful big plays. As a wide receiver core, they had over 3,000 yards receiving as a wide receiver core. This is the kicker Left.
This is the year.
You remember, you just heard all of those stats I read, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Missouri ran the ball 53% of the time.
Balanced attack.
See, it's not about how much you throw, it's the efficiency and how you use the pass game.
That's right.
That's what was attractive about Kirby Moore. Yeah, you had the questions of whether or not Kirby Moore or Drinkowitz was the one calling the game. but the Missouri offense ran the ball 53% of the time. That means they only threw it 47.
That's right.
And they put up that production, over 3,000 yards from their wide receivers, throwing the ball 47% of the time. It's efficiency. And, I think Mike Denbrock is going to bring a more efficient passing attack. He brought a more efficient passing attack to LSU. That's what he brought. So, yes, to answer the question, Notre Dame, and to go right along with what you said, Left, Notre Dame can still run the ball 52, 53% of the time, throw the ball 47% of the time. And as long as they're being impactful and efficient with yards per catch and impact plays, big plays in the passing game, which should be there because of the running game, the opportunity should be there. Yeah, I think they can do both, Left. I don't think they have to choose either or. I think they can do both. I really do. And I'm excited about the wide receiver room. It's one of the biggest questions as far as who the guy is going to be late in big games. But I'm excited about the production. If Notre Dame's wide receivers can get over 2,000 yards next year, I'll throw a party.
That'd be impressive.
I'll absolutely. I'm not even asking for 3,000. I'm just asking for 2,000.
No. We're going to start slow.
2,000.
2,000 be.
Man, if we can get 2,000
night and day.
yards, man, if we can get 2,000 yards strictly out of the receivers.
Strictly, like not a running back and all these additives and, just strictly yards.
Strictly, man, that would be huge.
Give us half of what Neighbors did and the other guy did at LSU.
Thomas?
Give us half of that because they was around 4,000, right?
Matter of fact, let's look at that. We talked about the efficiency of their offense. Let's look at their offensive stats this year. And I'll pull it up on the team rankings as well to look at the percentages. Because I'm sure that'll be very interesting, dude. So they threw the ball. Wow. They threw the ball 49% of the time and ran the ball 50.82% of the time. So once again, you talked about it, Left. Mike Denbrock is very balanced in his play calling. They were still able to average, because most people would look at LSU and think it was a pass-happy offense, right, Left? I think most Notre Dame fans, most people would just think from the outside looking in at LSU and the numbers Jaden Daniels put up, like, oh my God, this is a pass-happy offense. Very balanced. They threw the ball 50.82% of the time, which was 50th in the nation.
Yeah, it was still good ranking.
I'm sorry, not 50, 51.16% of the time, which was 43rd in the nation.
That's still good standing.
So it's not how much you throw. What are you doing with the pass attempt? When you throw, what are you doing with? They were number one in points per game, number one in yards per game, number one in points per play, number one in yards per play. As an offense, number two in third down conversion. I would like to see that at Notre Dame. Heck, just be top 10.
Shit, just be top 15.
Right. If Notre Dame can get to top 15 in third down conversion offensively, I'll take it. This is what Mike Denbrock is bringing to Notre Dame. Balanced offense, in my opinion, with better offensive line play, better running backs. Quarterback is not as dynamic.
Not as dynamic. That matters.
But Mike Denbrock can help with that and put him in favorable positions.
You can't make
the wide receiver core is not as dynamic as we had at LSU.
But how far do you think they are from it though?
Malik Neighbors is possibly a top 15 pick. Brian Thomas is possibly a top 40 pick in the NFL draft. They had two receivers over 1,000 yards Left.
Yeah, and a Heisman.
That's insane.
Yeah, you're not gonna
But
really
once
produce
again,
that.
left. What did we just ask Notre Dame's wide receiver room to produce next year? 2,000 yards, right?
2,000 yards, bro, between all them good talented receivers.
Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. put together 155 receptions for 2,846 yards.
By himself.
And they both averaged over 17 yards a catch. And together they averaged 17.4 yards per reception with a total of 31 touchdowns between the two of them. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we're not asking for much now.
And they only threw the ball 51% of the time.
I'm telling you, the
Dude,
potential is there.
dude, NC Notre Dame fan, I hope that answers your question, man. That's Mike Denbrock, and as Ryan Loftus says, the Mike Denbrock effect. That's crazy, bro. That's insane. You had two receivers that put up almost 3,000 yards. Just two. With 31 touchdowns. 31 touchdowns in a season left. That's insane, man. Now I understand why Jaden Daniels' numbers were so stupid. Left. You realize Jaden Daniels only threw the ball 327 times?
Yeah, but the times he was throwing it were explosive plays. Averaging 17 yards a catch is ridiculous.
Left. Jaden Daniels didn't even average 30 attempts per game. Left.
I was in the same system.
Left.
I threw for 300 something yards on like 19 of 22 completions.
This is Notre Dame fans. I'm loving this and thank you for bringing that up, guys, and asking that question, NC Notre Dame fan. That's why you guys are the best. Yo, Mike Denbrock, you really dig into the numbers, man. This dude is truly an efficient play caller, bro. He is all about run game, big plays in the passing game. He is not trying to dip Notre Dame fans. Mike Denbrock is not trying to come in here and 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's not what he's trying to do. He's not. He's not trying to do that. They had two receivers that averaged 17 yards per catch.
I mean, remember Kevin Stepherson under Mike Denbrock almost had 1,000 yards.
That's insane. That third receiver averaged more yards per catch than Neighbors and Thomas left. You got to be kidding me. Kyron Lacey had 30 receptions and averaged 18 yards per catch, and he had 7 touchdowns left. Hey, man. Jordan Faison, Chris Mitchell, Bo Collins, Jaden Greathouse, Cam Wood, everybody should eat. Everybody should eat. When was the last time you had going into the off season, Notre Dame fans? This is the excitement you should have. When was the last time you could get the feeling that everybody in the wide receiver room can eat? Everybody. And once again, they only threw the ball 51% of the time. That's bananas. That's bananas. I thought I was going to see at least 55. I really did. And this cat, Jaden Daniels, put up over 5,000 yards. 5,000
winning
yards
the
of offense
Heisman on less than on that. Winning the Heisman on those percentages.
Those percentages left. He put up 5,000 yards of total offense. Throwing the ball 51% of the time left. Brian Loftus, you're right, man. The last time we might have had that feeling was like Brady Quinn when he had Samardzija in the crew, or maybe Clausen when Clausen had who? Golden Tate. Did Clausen play with Michael Floyd? Jimmy Clausen might have been the last time I felt like, okay, we're gonna put up numbers in the passing game. Let's take a look at this. Jimmy Clausen, his best year at Notre Dame was.
Jimmy Clausen was in the 4,000s, right? 4,000-yard club.
I'm trying to get to his Notre Dame career. I think he
Yeah,
was.
Tommy put up some good numbers.
You're probably right. But did you feel like the whole wide receiver room was going to eat with Tommy?
Like DeVar, I mean, I think guys were confident in Tommy's ability. It was more of Tommy's late game decision making, which is the problem.
I think 2009 was Jimmy Clausen's best year. He put up 3,700 yards left.
Right. Okay. I knew he did something pretty good like that.
He had 31 in 2008. So.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, he had 2 years.
2 years. I'm telling you, that 2 years make a difference.
Yeah, we haven't had. Dude, Jack Cohn was had the best passing yardage, and he didn't play all the games. Jack Cohn, if he had started every game, probably could have put up 3,500 or more. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, here it is, Left. I was able to find it. The top receivers in 2009 were Golden Tate, Michael Floyd, and he had Duval Kamara as well. That's a pretty good 3.
Guys that had extensive careers in the league.
Dude, that cat, Golden Tate, went bananas in 2009, fam.
Yeah.
Good Lord. 93 receptions, 1,496 yards, 16 yards per clip with 17 touchdowns. That's bananas. Michael Floyd was a freshman, 44, 795, 9 touchdowns, 18 yards per clip. Yeah, it's been since 2009 since we've had this feeling, yo.
Yeah.
Notre Dame fans, the wide receiver room should get you amped. Like, dude, we care less who gets it done. We know Jordan Faison can play. That's not the question. The question is who's going to be the dude in the fourth quarter. That's the question. 93 catches is bananas, Lilo Galante. That's bananas. That's bananas. Lucky Lefty podcast. Let's get to the last one left. The 5th biggest question going into the spring for Notre Dame football.
What's our results looking like?
Our results, as far as what people are saying?
Yeah. Have we got any feedback on that?
On what?
The biggest questions?
No one's really entered. I have some GTB questions, but nobody's really entered their biggest question. I haven't seen anybody. So if you want to enter your biggest question going into the spring, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat, Notre Dame fans, so we can get to it. Biggest question, man. Where will this Notre Dame team get its leadership from? Because offensively, very young. Who are going to be the leaders? We expect guys like Howard Cross, Riley Mills to be leaders. Xavier Watts is a great player. I don't know he's going to get a C on his chest. Benjamin Morrison has not had to be a leader because Cam Hart has been the leader in the secondary. Now Benjamin Morrison gets that opportunity to be that leader for guys like Micah Bell, Christian Gray, Jaden Mickey. Who's going to be the leader? J.D. Bertrand has been the guy leading the charge for 3 consecutive years. Left. Who's going to be the leader at linebacker? Who's going to step up and be that guy? That's a huge question, man. Leadership on this team. Who will be the leaders on this 2024 Fighting Irish team? That's something that we're going to see play out, but it's a huge question going into the season, Left, because you pointed out the biggest difference between the 2015 team and the 2016 team wasn't talent. It was flat out leadership. Talk about that, why leadership is so important to the success of a team.
It's an importance because it's the difference between an 11-win team or a 4-8 team. Because at the end of the day, you got to look at it from the perspective of who's going to help these guys stay consistent throughout a long season. Younger guys and experienced guys don't know what it takes to do that. So you need leadership to be able to rally that and keep that expectation and be consistent in the season that, even the games you're supposed to win seem harder the later in the season as they go.
Yeah, I am looking forward to. I'm definitely looking forward to what they can do. I'm looking forward to it, man. The quarterback normally, unless he's just dead and doesn't have any personality, your quarterback is going to be one of your leaders. And hey, Riley Leonard will probably be one of the most experienced guys on the offensive side of the ball, besides the transfers that are coming in at wide receiver. I expect that. Jaden Thomas probably would end up being a leader offensively. I don't know if one of the transfers in the wide receiver room, I don't know if they need to be leaders, but I think, in my opinion, I would much rather Bo Collins and Chris Mitchell bring swag, right? Because I would love for the leaders to be guys from inside the program that were developed in the program. I just need the wide receivers that are coming in via the portal to bring swag.
Yeah,
to
I
the
need
wide
the
receiver.
guys from the portal to be the
Confidence.
complimented players that the team is appreciative for, not solely depending on moving the program forward because of them.
Mm-hmm. Lilo Galante, that's a good question about Xavier Watts. I don't see, I can't sit here and say that he's not vocal. But guys like Xavier Watts and guys like Benjamin Morrison have not had to be vocal in their time in Notre Dame. They haven't had to. It's not to say that they can't be. But when you have DJ Brown was a leader, man. You could talk about the drop interceptions. You could talk about the disappointment in other plays, but he was a leader on that defense. He was a guy that players looked to. Cam Hart was a guy players looked to. JD Bertrand was a guy players looked to. They're going to be super talented on defense, but who will the leaders be on that defense? So I can't say that Benjamin Morrison and Xavier Watts aren't vocal leaders. They have the opportunity to show whether or not they're vocal leaders. Jaden Mickey has been a talker from the first practice at Notre Dame. He's vocal. Could he be a leader? And I think via football and life, Jaden Mickey has been tested and has gone through the fires in both areas. And that can definitely make him a prime contender to be one of the leaders on the defensive side of the ball with Riley Mills and Howard Cross. Christian Gray, I don't think it's his time, but yeah, Christian Gray won't have dude. When it's his time to be a leader, he'll definitely be that will be an easy choice, in my opinion. Christian Gray will be an easy choice. I think Drake.
Gray will have his time.
Yeah, Drake Bowen is a leader, But Drake Bowen is a very quiet leader.
Yeah, I thought Drake Bone would have the personality of a CJ Carr, a very team guy, team rallies behind him, more boisterous.
Oh, dude, everybody loves him. Everybody loves him. Everybody in the 23 class loved him. He was the Pied Piper in a sense of that class, right? When guys decommitted, I'll do. Him and Keon Keeley were really, really close in the recruiting process. They talked all the time.
He's in the portal now.
When Keon Keeley, is he? I didn't see that.
I saw someone was thinking about it or something.
Oh, okay. I was about to say that would be huge news, especially with both guys more than likely being in the portal. I mean, in the draft. No, I haven't seen anything. There's nothing on his page. But yeah. But my point was like when Keon was going through his decision, he just stopped communication with Drake. You know, like, dude, I can't even talk to Drake. Because if I talk to Drake, it's gonna make the decision tough. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Drake was that he was that dude. And I think that's the type of leader he can be. You know, and I think what you're gonna see left is that eventually in the middle of the season, you're gonna see a rotation of Drake, KBA, and Jaden Alsbury at the linebacker position. I think you're going to see a rotation of those three guys at two positions, and then you're going to have the senior leadership of Jack Kaiser. Jack Kaiser will be a leader as well. Jack Kaiser will be a leader. He definitely will be a leader. He'll definitely be a leader. But yeah, I remember we did a show and somebody put in the chat that they heard that he could possibly be leaving or something because of playing time. But you know, Alabama's a place where you go and you know, okay, I have to wait my turn. Especially at that position. You know what the biggest difference is with Alabama right now? Which is confusing to me, Left. Maybe you can explain it. They don't have those Cody and Jonathan Allen guys anymore up the middle.
They got it's like a hybrid kind of thing they got. It's like more of a these guys are built more for the running linearly. I mean side to side than it is just an upfront push. So they got more Jalen Smith like freaks than a Tuitt and a Nick.
Yeah, I just don't know. It's confusing, Left, because dude, Alabama was known for their defensive tackles. Payne, Allen, Cody, like, dude.
Quentin Williams.
Yes, that was Quentin Williams. Yes, that was their defense, man. And now, dude, they just don't have those dudes up the middle anymore. Yeah, I mean, of course, Texas, but I mean, there's more than two dudes in the country. You know, Alabama usually can find a kid from Alabama, Georgia, Florida, you know, to be that good. But, you know, it is it's very interesting, Left. Very interesting. But yeah, that's number 5, man. That's number 5. Who will be the leaders of this team? And that's a question that I hope can be answered early. And I'm sure Marcus Freeman, who does allow the players to kind of dictate and operates off the players, but I hope he's watching as well to see who those leaders, especially on the offensive side of the ball, you know, where the playing time or game action is going to be minimal to start the season as far as experience. Yeah, I saw Dave McCullough. You know, Dave McCullough had a great start to the season, and all of a sudden they started like taking his snaps because he was playing hybrid, like linebacker in certain packages and safety in the other package. and I'm sure it was like impact of Peyton Bourne and other things. So he's transferring from Oklahoma. I mean, I don't think there's any room at the end at Notre Dame. I know Notre Dame is bringing in the Rod Hurd King kid from
The
Rod Hurd, grad
who?
transfer from Northwestern. I already know that's going to turn you off. To play safety. I can see it right now.
Oh man, here we go. I think we just might well establish a pipeline.
Dude, that grad transfer pipeline from Northwestern to Notre Dame is pretty interesting. I mean, if I'm a Northwestern kid, and Rod Hurd played very well, bro.
Yeah,
He played very well this year. He really did. That entire
Brandon Joseph played very well.
Point taken. Point taken. Point taken left. Notre Dame fans, I can't even counter that. I'm trying to be nice to Rod Hurd as he takes his visit to Notre Dame, but I can't.
I mean, we might as well just establish, like, look, if you're from Ivy League, you're similar in whatever, you can come to Notre Dame because it's like we're only picking from a couple places.
Hey man, look, his stats on the season. The young man had. Come on, Northwestern, update your website. How do you not have the stats up on the website? Come on, do better. This would be his 6th year. He started at Northwestern in 2019, so of course he gets the COVID year. This would be his 6th season. He had a medical year in there as well. That's crazy.
Her
67
getting
total.
beat down the field. That's what they said.
He has 67 total tackles, 47 solo, 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 interception, and 2 passes defended.
Give me Ben Minich.
Yeah, that's not too much to be.
Give me Ben Minich. See what our guys in the tank got. These transfer guys that are looking to get elevated. Come on. Let's start cashing in on some. Get some more Jack Cones in the building, man. What we got to do to get some more Jack Cones in the building?
Oh, Thomas Harper was a really good player this year. Thomas
I
Harper
thought he
came from
was.
Oklahoma
I think
State. He's a
it was
really
just
good
a
player in the
bad
slot.
taste when he got smoked on them slot routes by Ohio State.
Hmm.
Because they was picking on him. He just became the weakest link in that drive. But I
Yeah,
thought he
Mecca.
played well as a 1
Yeah.
year come help the team out kind of role.
Yeah, yeah. Ben and Don Shula both should get shots. And Ben Minich was balling during the spring. I don't know if you guys remember the reports from the spring.
Yeah, they were
practice.
saying Ben was making some plays.
He
I
got
remember
injured.
that.
He got injured late in the spring, and it kind of tailed on into the summer.
Yeah.
But early on in the spring, Ben Minich was like getting an interception like every day. Like every day he was making a play.
Yeah. Adon looked like he looked like something. I don't know if he doing anything, but he looked like something.
Well, he looked good in the Sun Bowl.
Yeah, he didn't look bad.
He looked good in the Sun Bowl.
So we got. I'm just really big on
See, this is my
using your
thing,
young
Left.
guys in the
Explain
tank,
this.
man.
Is this more about talent or is it more about mentality? Because Kirby just coaches. Kirby has no problem putting true freshman safeties in the back.
Yeah, none.
No, they're probably talented, 4 or 5 stars.
They
but
probably
like,
more talented than the average.
But still, there's a mentality where he's like, we gonna coach.
Yeah.
Like if it's this close between a veteran and a young kid, we're gonna coach that young. We're gonna take the young dude and coach him. And I don't know if I see that mentality yet on the back
Not
end.
at Notre Dame. We got these traditions we hold, and I do think that when talent is so good, Kyle Hamilton, You're coaching that young. Even Kyle Hamilton sat his first year, sort
Yeah,
of. He played.
yeah.
I mean, he played a little bit. He didn't play as much though, right? I remember when he got in, he had that pick six verse. Who was that? Marshall or something. When he was young, that pick
Hmm.
six verse one of them schools we struggle against. And yeah, I was like, okay, he's on the stage. So it's cool to see him doing his thing against the Ravens, looking like a top safety in the league. So that's good too.
Yeah, yeah. Lucky Lucky Podcast, great show, fantastic show. Hey, chat, you guys were fantastic today, man. You guys brought up some great stuff inside of the conversation, the five big questions. Man, fantastic show today, Left. Your insight was like really good, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you for the super chats. Let's get to some of these questions and comments and get out of here, Left. Irish Gordian Knot says his favorite place to take a nap is the hammock behind the crib by the pond.
I don't know how y'all deal with bugs, man. Bugs when you sleep, bugs being on you when you sleep. They just never sat right with me, man. I think like certain things like eating outside, I'm not a big fan of.
Hmm.
Why you want to have a meal outside? We beyond that. We beyond that.
I got Jay. Thank you for tapping in. Jay says it's a wrap for me in the passenger seat of the car. I don't feel comfortable going to sleep when somebody else is driving. I mean, I don't feel comfortable going to sleep when I'm driving, but I'm just saying. I
I see. I can't fall asleep on the plane, but the driving thing. I mean, I guess it's a trust thing subconsciously.
I'm with you there, Left. I say we're taking a trip to LA, which we've done a lot over the last 4 years.
It's a hell of a trip.
I'll close the
It's a
laptop.
hell of a flight.
I'm not fully asleep, but I'll close the laptop or whatever I'm doing once we get like maybe an hour and a half out.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's just I'm one eye open, one eye closed kind of thing. Like I'm
Yeah.
asleep, but I ain't sleep.
Hmm.
Cause if something shake the wrong way, I'm up. Like, see if y'all need help or something back there.
You got a better chance of having an accident in a car than you do having an
I don't
accident
want to hear them
in an
numbers. I
airplane.
don't want to hear that.
Hey, the
Nobody want
numbers
to
are
hear
the
that.
numbers, bro. The numbers are the
No,
numbers.
nobody. No, numbers are not numbers. Numbers can be favorable to whatever
Hey,
argument you want to make.
my only request is if we're
That's
going
why
down,
it's still a Jordan LeBron debate because you can
my
take any of these numbers and
well,
make it
no,
seem like
no,
Jordan is
it's
doing
only a
something.
debate. It's only a debate for you. There is no debate. You have a debate. There is no debate. Irish Steel,
He
63.
said it's only one right answer.
Hey, dude, it's a debate for you. That's fine. How soon can Denbrock get his playbook into the players' hands? I mean, this is for you, Left. And then my biggest curiosity this off season is to see how jacked and fast these guys can get going forward, going to Lauren Landau, the director of the new director of football.
Man,
I forget.
honestly, it's a slow process, man. I just think he just got to get his books the right way, his film cut ups done to what he wants. I mean, I'll be taking everything from LSU.
So this is the thing. CJ Carr came in prepared for practice because he was going off the previous playbook. Now he gets a new playbook.
Yeah, Denbrock stuff is more digestible. I think it's an
Okay.
easier trade. Like his stuff isn't complicated, which is I think highlighted when you got great talent because it just looks really good. But I think all the guys will be able to get it pretty fast.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of who can work the best within the way in which he's calling it. I remember I've had arguments on the field with him about stuff that he's called. Like, dude, we don't need that. Like, bro, there's
You
four
mean
people
like the
running.
play? You mean like the play you got hurt and screwed the whole season up?
Man, listen, I didn't like that play either. And it's so
Yeah,
funny. I always,
and look what it got you. Look what it got us.
it's so funny. The same play that I
Mm-hmm.
got hurt on is the exact same play, different RPO, but same play that they ran at Alabama. It's a stupid ass play. I don't like it. And it's so funny because Kelly's first thing Kelly say when I see him is like, "You should have threw it instead of running." Da, da, da." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's such a stupid play because it's like, what a hindsight thing to say." That's why I don't like certain RPOs. The only RPOs I really like is the inside run with a slant behind it.
Mhm.
But the whole side by side
The
thing is
stuff that
just too.
Sark does, the type of stuff that
Yeah,
Sark does.
exactly. The stuff that Sark scoring easy touchdowns on, like that stuff. Like that's more digestible because it's easier to read because there's a level to it as opposed to side by side, which is like I just don't think it works as a last play of the game, but definitely not a red zone play either because the closer you get, especially red zone going into the end zone, teams are playing more top down. They're not really backing up. So anything
Mhm.
side to side is just not smart in that area of the field because teams are coming downhill more than likely. So
Yeah,
you always want to keep some type of vertical stretch, I think, in the red zone so you keep teams honest or you sneak past them is one or two.
right. Here's a comment from Stephen Robert. I'm gonna make it famous, fancy. Stephen Robert, like Rudy Gobert. He's not from France, so it's probably Stephen Robert. Every time Malik eats something on his pod, I like him to let us know what it is and what he rates it on a scale of 1 to 10. That would actually be dope. That would be dope.
That's on Patreon. Patreon coming soon. Food reviews and more. Subscribe.
What
Nuclear
Malik ate
bombs
on
on
the show today.
Patreon. Dropping nuclear bombs on Patreon.
That would be dope. What Malik ate on today's show. You remember? Do you watch? What's his name? Oh, he has a show on YouTube and Patreon. Uh, Kev on stage. Kev on stage.
Is that the bald head, light skinned dude?
He's not light skinned. He's
Not
not as
light
dark
skinned, but
as
he's
me.
brown. He's brown.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
look like
Kev on stage.
yeah.
His co-host Angel, literally every show is eating something. Every show, and literally does her makeup during the show. Every show, and it's like to the point where it's like, what's she gonna snack on today? Like you can literally place a prop bet on what she's gonna snack on today. So that'd be dope. We'll definitely say that for Patreon. Like, what did Malik eat today, and how does he rate it? I don't know. I haven't been doing a lot of fast food, but I'm going to this new restaurant with my mother today in Chicago. It is a black-owned hibachi spot. Left. My mother called me this morning and she said, "Yo, it's a new black-owned hibachi spot on 31st Street. Do you want to go?"
A black on hibachi.
Left. Look, I'm just going because she's
Oh,
paying, bro.
what?
She invited me, and I'm going because she's paying.
How do you, how do you,
Hey, we support. We pretty much anytime we find out about a black-owned establishment, we pretty much go support. We go support.
yeah.
So if they own it, doesn't mean they have to be the ones cooking, though. You know, we'll see. I'll give the update tomorrow. NC Notre Dame fan Sean Kenny Smith said that his Rockets team that won 2 back-to-back titles would have beat Jordan's Bulls. What do you say? Unless the Bulls made, I'm going to be objective. Something that, see, and I don't have to march around the walls of Jericho 7 times like Malik. I'm going to be very objective. Kenny Smith is right. Hakeem Olajuwon always gave the Bulls trouble, even when they were winning championships. He would have been a problem in a series. And if the Bulls did not make a move to get another guy to replace Dennis Rodman, who was pretty much at the end of his rope in that 6th championship, it would have been really tough. But I would have never betted against Michael Jordan in a series. I wouldn't have. That's not to say, because heck, to be honest, and this goes back to the discussion we had yesterday, the 98 Eastern Conference Finals, I think the Indiana Pacers were the better team because the Pacers ended up facing the Lakers in the NBA Finals, I think 2 years later with that same team. I think the Indiana Pacers were a better team, a more complete team. The Bulls just had Mike and Scotty. That's what it came down to. in that game 7. The Pacers were up 15 points in the first half of that game 7 at the United Center. But the Bulls just had Mike and Scotty. Point blank. That was the difference coming down the stretch.
Are you really trying to sell that they had a better team? Are you really
No.
trying to sell
Left. I'm telling you. I'm flat out telling you that they had a deeper team than the Bulls and a better team.
Sure.
They had a better bench. Their top 2 players weren't better. See, the top 2 players for were Jalen Rose and Reggie Miller, bro. But their starting center was better. Their power, Dennis Rodman was at the end, bro. So the Dale Davis and Antonio Davis were better. They had Travis Best coming off the bench. They had Chris Mullin. They had Derek McKee. They had a deeper and better team, dude. They did. It's the same thing. The last Lakers championship that Magic won.
Come on,
man. The Pistons were a better
man.
team. The Lakers just won because number one, Isaiah hurt his ankle going into game 7. And they just had more experience. Period. And it sometimes it happens like that. Hey,
how do you have a better team when Michael Jordan's playing against you? Come on.
What do you mean? The Philadelphia Eagles were a better team in the Super Bowl. They didn't do. They didn't have a better quarterback.
When you have Patrick Mahomes playing against you.
Didn't we just explain this the other day, dude? Didn't we just go through this? We're not going through this again, bro. When you have a difference maker,
is Michael Jordan not the outlier though?
That doesn't mean he had the better team. He can actually do more with less. That's the point. That's the point. LeBron can do more with less. That's the point. He doesn't need to have. Didn't he beat the better team when he beat Golden State?
No, LeBron was the better team.
Stop lying.
Come on, it's LeBron James and Kyrie. What are we talking about? You proved the better team in basketball because you got to play them 7 times.
Okay, Left. All right. Okay. All right. If you say so.
Basketball is the only sport where you can prove who the better team is because you play them 7 times.
That's not the only sport. You can prove that in baseball. You can prove that in hockey.
Baseball? Hell, best 2 out of 3 is not the best, though.
What are you talking about? They play a 7-game series. What are you talking about?
Which one's the best 2 out of 3? That hockey? One is the best 2 out of 3.
No, hockey's 7-game series. When you get to the Stanley Cup. Super chat. Beef Eater ND08. Thanks for the super chat, Beef Eater. Happy New Year to you as well. Can you please explain why Tommy always has very narrow splits between the offensive line? It's like running through a fight in a phone booth. Left, that's for you, bro. Because you can go to that last play and why it upset you so much in that Rose Bowl.
Only just because it's the last play of the game. You're on the 8-yard line.
Yeah.
And you have 2 options on one play, and both of them are behind the goal line. So either way, running or throwing it to the sideline, you're still having to work for the touchdown. I think that just puts your team in a bad position, and you don't give yourself a chance like they did in Auburn where they threw it into the end zone on the last play of the game. You get a chance. Threw it in the end zone. Now you don't throw it in the end zone. You try to run to the end zone, you're going to have a different result. And that's exactly what happened. And, you would have think it was a good play because he had multiple options, but the type of play it was in that situation just wasn't helpful.
Yeah. It's going back to that question, man. We have to recognize the Tony Kukoc. See, this is if the Bulls did make a move, right? Because Horace Grant was going via free agency. Tony Kukoc was coming, which would have been another dynamic that the Houston Rockets had not dealt with previously in facing the Bulls and Tony would have been that sixth man coming off the bench, it would have been a really good series. I think the Bulls would have made a move to solidify the team and solidify that power forward position. Possibly could they have gotten Rodman a year earlier if Mike had not retired? Maybe. So you would have had a Rodman in his prime with Tony Kukoc.
What are you doing?
That would have been really tough for the Rockets.
What are you doing?
So for that reason, I'll go against what Kenny Smith says. I agree they would have had a really good shot of winning, but I'll go against it because I think they probably Michael can, and they probably end up getting Rodman a year earlier, and then or 2 years earlier, right? '94 Mike didn't play, then he came back the following year. Yeah, in '95, midway through the season, and they got Rodman for the '96 season. So maybe they go get Rodman earlier, but they make a move. I don't think they ride with Kukoc at the 4. They make a move. But even if they had rolled with Kukoc at the 4 as a starter, that'd been really difficult for the Rockets because they had Otis Thorpe at the 4, and he would have had to chase Tony around. It would have been a very interesting series, man. Very interesting series. Yeah, see, I don't agree with that because Vernon Maxwell, if you can find it, he talked about it. This was the ultimate respect play to Mike, in my opinion, because Vernon Maxwell talked about why they were able, because the Rockets were one of the first teams that really played inside out with a 3-pointer and Hakeem, and you didn't have to face that a lot back in that NBA. Rumble, tumble, you could still hand check. So they were kind of like before their time, the way they played basketball around Hakeem. So defensively, that was a system that the Bulls weren't used to playing, and it gave them some difficulty because Hakeem was so dominant on the inside. And so when you play that system, rebounding is difficult for anybody, right? Long rebounds. But the Bulls, their problem was never like rebounding against the Rockets, man. Their problem was the fact they had to give up so much of their defensive principles to try to help on Hakeem. And the Bulls didn't help a lot. Like they would just depend on Bill Cartwright, Will Perdue, Luke Longley, guys that they didn't care what they gave them offensively. They just wanted them to defend and rebound, right? And the Bulls, dude, Luke Longley might have averaged 6 rebounds a game. Bill Cartwright might have averaged 5 rebounds a game, but the Bulls were so great at gang rebound, right? Scotty would get you 7, 8, 9. Mike would get you 5, 6. Horace would pretty much give you 9, 10. So they were like a gang rebounding team. So they never really had to go out and get. That's why once they got a guy like Dennis Rodman, dude, it was bananas because now Mike and Scotty could just leak out because they didn't have to gang rebound as much. So that's a great question, man. Like, I'm not mad at Kenny Smith for feeling that way. He should feel that way because even when the Bulls win the championships, they did play competitive games. But Vernon Maxwell, if you guys can find it, I forget the podcast he was on. I think he was on with Gilbert Arenas. And he was just talking about the style of play. Their style of play is what gave the Bulls problems. And he said it didn't matter, though, because he said that black cat, that's what he called Michael Jordan. He was like, dude. He said that black cat at any moment. He said, dude, we would have the game in full control against the Bulls and be feeling like that we're about to blow the Bulls out. And then all of a sudden, that black cat would show up. And next thing you know, it's a ball game. He was like, yo, that dude was different. He was just different. But left, you were asking, wild card. You was probably thinking about baseball with the wild card in the first round being a 3-game series. But after that, everything else is a 7-game series. And the last one, Beef Eater said this is part 2 of his super chat. Does MALIK think we should spread the O-line out. Larger line splits, do you think, left? I'm very interested because I think Denbrock is more of a duo power, but I'm sure he'll shape the running game around the
Yeah, he
talent.
was more of a zone scheme, zone inside outside zone,
Hey, now
and some read option.
left, you just made me very happy, boy. I'm excited, left. This dude, we might say this. Let's break down the running game tomorrow. Can we do that? Can we start breaking down Mike Denbrock?
Yeah, let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah, because dude, you just got me super excited, bro. Because Jeremiah Love in a zone scheme left with his cutback ability, dude.
It'll be
kind of
really
like
good.
that's like Torian Folston all over again, bro. Yeah, tomorrow we'll break that down. We'll break that down. Whew. Lucky Lefty podcast. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Man. For left, you know what? My fault, left. We got to punch that ticket today. Thank you for everybody in the chat. We got to make sure we punch a ticket. I got something real special for left that I think is going to get him really excited. You know what time it is.
Petticoat. Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty historic? Petty Junction.
Petty Junction, Petty Story today brought to you by Nora Whiskey, NoraWhiskey.com, that premium American whiskey at NoraWhiskey.com. Yo, I agree with you guys in the chat. Both running backs could be very prosperous and have good success in that zone running scheme. Man, I can't wait to break that down tomorrow. Lucky Lefty podcast. So, I'm trying to find a clip. But Dan Orlovsky, come on down. We're going to punch your ticket, my man. First of all, you want to get up and you ate a pancake off the ground on live TV. Then you went and made it worse. Because you actually went on First Take, my man, and actually smelled on live TV, sniffed Molly Karam's shoe, which I have no clue how that's going to play at your crib.
Wait, which one?
Did you see this dude when they got Dan Orlovsky sniffed Molly Karam's shoe
Oh
on
yeah,
TV?
he sniffed her shoe on TV.
Bro, I know my wife wouldn't be happy with that, fam.
Is it is it that bad though?
Fam, I couldn't get away with that. No.
Oh, he's married. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's married. He talks about his wife all the time. There's no way.
Yeah, you can't be sniffing no lady's shoe as a man, I guess.
No. Well, I wouldn't sniff it if I was single. I would sniff it if I was single, but I'm definitely not sniffing it. And then on top of that, we got to put your boy, just because, man, I got to put your boy, Victor Wembanyama on the, yeah, dude. John Morant got you. Come on down. Let me punch that ticket. Let me punch that ticket, brother. And he slapped the backboard on you.
And he slapped the backboard.
And that's what made it worse. He dunked and he slapped the backboard. Left, I don't know if you've seen Mike Miller and Udonis Haslam, UD, as he likes to be called. He said he hates for people to call him Udonis Haslam. in a recent interview on their podcast, the OG Show, they had Bam Adebayo on the show. I don't know if you saw this. They said
About James Johnson.
that cat James Johnson, one of the teammates during practice, called him out of his name, bro. Called him out of his name. They said James Johnson told him, "You got to see me after practice."
Yeah, he just said, "Oh yeah, see me after practice."
Dude, what do you do with that? Dude, have you ever had a moment like that on the football field where somebody takes a late hit or something, or they do something and you're like, okay, all right.
Not to the James Johnson effect, because he was serious.
But
everybody
you know, do you have moments like that in the locker room at Notre Dame where it's like, all right, man?
Well, football is more like on the field unless it's like right before the end of practice. But usually it's like they'll handle it right then and there and be a big skirmish. The only time you ever see, man, I don't know, man. It's not as common as you would think. If anything is handled right then and there, which is the right thing, you know, don't wait forever and then do something, you know.
Yeah, I was about to say, would you yeah, dude. Yeah, that's petty. I don't think he had to fold him up in the corner because that's what they said. They said he folded this dude up in the corner.
Yeah, they got him good. They said he got him good.
Folded this man up in the corner, had him crying, and then hugged him.
Yeah, say you all right, and then left.
Like, bro, you can't hug me after doing that, fam. No. They said the equipment manager was mad because he knocked over the towels. He beat him up so bad, dude. No, we can't be teammates, dude. That's worse than Draymond to me. Well, Draymond knocked the little man out. So
ain't nothing worse than the Draymond because that wasn't cool. But if it's a gentleman thing, well, y'all understand what's gonna happen. I mean, you just took your L and move on, man.
Ed 3 said he's more creeped out about eating a pancake off the ground. And Justin said, yeah, that's creepy to do that on TV. Yeah.
What would you do if he sniffed your wife's shoe? Like if that was somebody, if Molly was your wife, he sniffed your wife's shoe on TV.
I would just think he's a weirdo.
Would you keep it cool?
He would just be a weirdo to me.
You're like, dude, you're a weirdo.
Because it's not like he tried to holler at her. It's like, damn, you like that's your fetish?
Because is that the same as when dude him and Rex about dude's wife?
Him and Rex Ryan, right? They have feet
fetish. No, what's the one where the dude said something about the black man wife? He said that's not what your wife said. Is that the same level? He was like, your wife thought I looked good or something like that.
Yeah, that was super petty. This is just petty because it's like, dude, you're embarrassing yourself, bro. Like, what are you doing? It's nasty. All the smoke. Doc Rivers. This is not me. Doc Rivers. On All the Smoke with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. Said that they didn't fear LeBron when he first came into the league because he wasn't a student of the game. And he said it wasn't until 2009 when they played him in a preseason game and LeBron started hollering out their sets, which he had never done before. He said he turned to Tom Thibodeau and said, we're in trouble. Left, it's up to you whether or not you want to put him on the petty train. I know you probably feel like LeBron has been a student of the game since he set foot in the NBA.
I just don't feel like you could be the number one at 17 years old, not being some sort of student to the game.
So you want to put?
I don't think he's like Patrick Mahomes, where he's like, I didn't know anything about defenses until I played the Super Bowl. Like head ass. It's like, all right, Patrick, you know. So no, I don't think.
You know what I'm starting to learn? You know what I'm starting to learn, Left? That cat Patrick Mahomes is trolling us, dude. Because he
He
tries to
gotta
give
be.
us
gotta
this
be.
nice dude act. Patrick Mahomes talks some of the biggest trash in the world. Because what he said to Jalen Hurts at that media night was unnecessary.
And it goes down as one of the pettiest,
Oh my God.
funniest things ever.
Like, oh man, you at the hotel? Oh yeah, I rented out a crib.
Yeah, I'm next to the stadium. I've been there
I rented
since
that crib back in last January.
in the summer before we even hit training camp. I was already
Right.
had some of my stuff from the house over there already,
I had
man.
shipped it already.
Yeah, like I had my personal blankets and towels laid out. I got the house christened, you know, saged out, ready to ready to take my family on. So Patrick Mahomes ain't.
Had my
And
daughter's crib duplicated and
yeah,
built.
the crib was built, and we had it built, set up, ready to go, rock and roll. Before we even went into training camp, before they even named you the starter, because you was
I
still
think
battling in camp.
I
You
think he
know what
was
I mean?
trolling. I think he was trolling when he said that I didn't know defenses until my third year. Like, fam, come on, man.
Man, dudes get around LeBron, just start capping, just like Taylor Rooks, just start talking all type of.
Taylor Rooks can do that to you, Left.
Taylor Rooks can do
I
it
got
to
a
you.
Taylor Rooks story, bro.
Oh, you got
Taylor
a
Rooks.
Taylor Rooks story? That's so
You
funny.
know, Taylor Rooks went to U of I.
Oh, that's right. That's
And
right.
she went to U of I, straight out of ATL. So we were covering Big Ten Media Day, right? And this is like freshly graduated, doesn't even have a job with the Big Ten yet. Intern Taylor Rook, like, not dolled up, hair kind of like, just combed to the best that it could be. And I just remember my guy from the Big Ten introducing me to her and just laughing about Atlanta and stuff, this, that, and other. And then I remember when she got a job at the Big Ten network, we had her on WGN radio, right? To talk basketball. Like, people don't know she's very, very knowledgeable about basketball, bro. 'Cause I think her family, like everyone in her family plays sports. And if I'm not mistaken, she either has brothers or cousins that play basketball. But even though she covers football the majority of the time, she's very knowledgeable about basketball as well. And I never forget. Now, remember, I met intern Taylor Rooks, right? So this is like 2 years later, and in walks Big Ten Network Taylor Rooks. So I'm in the production booth, and she walks in, and I look through the glass, and I'm like, whoa, that's not the same. Is that the same person? And now what she's become, like you said, guys sit down next to her, they forget their thoughts. They answer the wrong question. She has to bring it back. They just kind of lose themselves. So, yeah. Or they get
You
on there
said
and
they
try to.
just lose themselves.
They lose themselves, bro. They lose themselves, man. One of my bros from Barber's Chair Network that covers the Bears. That dude, I think the Bears played on a Monday night game or a Sunday night game. I think the Bears played on Sunday night. And he got a chance to take a picture with Taylor Rooks, and that dude posted it all over his IG. And I was like, dude, you didn't post that picture for professional purposes. He was like, no, I didn't. I was like, I know you didn't. I know you didn't. You just wanted dudes to see that you stood next to Taylor Rooks. Like, dudes, man, it's almost like they get around her, man. It's like, oh man, I gotta take a picture with her. Like, come on, man. But she represents the Fighting Illini very well. She does. I'm proud of her. Proud of her, man. Lucky Lefty podcast. Great show. Left, so you are putting Doc Rivers on the petty train, right? I figured. Everybody, enjoy your day. Tomorrow, we're breaking down Mike Denbrock, the run offense, and what it's going to look like. I'll see if Cam can jump on, because Cam can definitely describe that along with you. Left. That'll be a great show. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Have a great Wednesday. Make sure you spin it different.